So around this time of year, a lot of gardeners do what they can to try to protect the plants that they've already planted to try to extend their season. So some gardeners are able to have hoop houses and greenhouses that cover the plants so they will survive during the freezing temperatures. We are getting into that position. We're working with the USDA to try to get hoop houses and things on site. But a lot of gardeners, if they have fruit trees, they will cover them in either jackets or blankets and things of that nature, insulation pipes to try to put them around the base of the younger plants, and sometimes they'll wrap other things around the bases of the plants. During this time, if some plants actually do pretty well during the freezing temperatures and the frost. Your greens and some of the brassicas will make it, so your broccoli and your collards, they may do well during this time. So hopefully, if it doesn't last too long, you're still able to harvest a crop after the freezing temperatures.
Right, and so what are some crops that aren't going to survive necessarily, that doesn't necessarily survive in the freezing temperatures?
There are a lot of things that don't survive. So you have your flower buds. If you have a lot of young tender plants that you've planted and they aren't covered, they're not going to make it. Some lettuces, once the temperatures get too freezing and that ice gets inside the stem of the plant, then it'll go ahead and begin to wilt. So there are some items like the mustard greens. Sometimes your turnip greens won't do well, but you still have roots in the ground during the winter, so you may still be able to harvest some root crops and things during this time.
And so do you mind just explaining a little bit about what you guys have been doing so far to take care of this specific garden?
Okay, so what we've done for the most part is tried to use ground cover. So we've done our best to try to accumulate as much natural resources around the community through partnerships with Pine Straw Direct and people like that, and also with the city getting leaves and things on site. And what we've done is we do have some things in the ground that we've started, like onions. So we'll take straw, we'll take leaves, and we'll cover the ground and try to keep the temperatures at a point where those roots can still survive during the freezing periods.
And so I guess how much time does that take to do all of this?
It really depends on how big your project is and in the garden. For us, we have a great volunteer group and also a good staff that comes in, maybe about 4 or 5 people that come in weekly to try to assist. We've been working a lot inside the building trying to get some things in order for our training grounds and getting ready for having students inside. But outdoors, it takes a few hours out of the day, but as long as you have the material on site, you should be able to, once you get a good workflow, it wouldn't take too long.
And so what are you guys expecting after this freeze is done, or just during the freeze as we go forward now?
So what we expect, a lot of our plants are going to die. Like I said, we haven't been established we haven't gotten established yet and gotten our greenhouses and hoop houses established. So we will have some things that won't survive. However, we do plan to continue to build the soil here and build up the soil structure here so that as the seasons progress, we'll still be able to grow food and do things of that nature going forward. So we're prepping during January and February, getting seeds started to get ready for the spring.
Right, and so I just have 2 more questions. So for the soil, as you mentioned, how exactly do you make sure that the soil is good enough for these temperatures?
Well, one, we feed the soil, so we use compost teas to try to add bacteria and things to the soil, but also covering it allows the microbiology to have a good space to live and grow and thrive. So that's one way that we try to do our part in feeding the soil so that it can do its part in feeding us on the back end.
And is there anything else you'd like to add regarding this time and taking care of the garden?
Well, with it being kind of the winter season, we've tried to do our best to grow in the spring, summer, and fall. So this winter gardening isn't necessarily our thing. This is the time where we prep and try to get ready for training. But I do want to say thank you to all of our volunteers and all of our staff this year. We had one special volunteer, Miss Eva. She came out and did a phenomenal job with us this summer to help us make sure we had plenty of produce for the community. So I want to say a special thank you to our volunteers for coming out and spending time with us.